One of the unexpected highlights that I've found from all this time out here at the lot is getting to see these unbelievable changes on the Fraser River. It's been a super mild winter, like -3 to -5 the last couple weeks. Last night it dropped down to -18. I woke up this morning to a far more frozen Fraser River. We've seen a little bit of this ice buildup last year, and it jammed up kilometers and kilometers downriver, and it built up all the way to the point just above my place here before it broke free. I don't think we're gonna have enough ice right now to see a jam up, but the noise that comes off this is unbelievable. I knew it was icing up last night because I could actually hear it from the rig. Let's get a little closer with a camera so you can hear it. Not sure if it's gonna get wintry enough this winter for another ice jam, but I'll be watching for it. Until then, we've got a lot of work to do, but let me show you the progress in the house. Okie dokie, right off the bat, you're gonna notice some pretty big changes in here. I've had to really just focus and get a couple jobs done without filming, so let me run you through how I did it and why I did it that way. First of all, vapor barrier is all in. I didn't film this because I thought this was gonna be a quick little 2-3 hour job. This was an entire day and a big headache, mostly because of this balloon style framing. Typically with balloon style, they run a board along to support the second story like that. This one, for whatever reason, they have these second studs in here. And it was just a massive pain to try and create this seal. And unfortunately, it's just never gonna be perfect. But other than that, once I got the hang of it, it went along pretty good, and I am quite happy with the end result. And I cannot believe the difference that made in temperature in here. It's, been cold outside for a couple days now, and it's nice and toasty warm in here, just with the little kerosene heater going. And wiring. It's taken me over a week to get myself up to date on code and how to install this correctly. So let me just run you through how I did it. Everything is 15 amp circuits. I'm using 14.2 wiring, and I have really 3 circuits. They come through right here. The panel is going to be in the utility room. I have 1 circuit for upstairs, 1 for downstairs, and 1 to run the fridge. With this being such a small space, I don't know exactly where the appliances are going to go until they're here and I can see the size. So the fridge is either going to go right here or over there. There's also going to be a bathtub here somewhere. So this is GFCI protected, as are these two, because there's going to be a sink right here. This is actually going to be outside light on this switch. Inside light, this switch controls that outlet. The only real creative wiring I had to do was the upstairs lighting. There's going to be a television somewhere on this wall, so we need constant power for that. So I actually broke the tab on this outlet. Bottom plug-in is constant power. Top plug is controlled with this light switch, so that will control the lights. Now, how am I going to power all these things? It's important to mention this is not the way that it should be done. This is how I was originally going to do it, but it's become a temporary thing. This is an inverter, same as you would see in the rig. I left all these wires really long because I do have a correct inverter on the way. So it'll all be getting installed through a main panel and everything like your regular house. But for now, I have each circuit coming in and it just plugs into this inverter. That's going to do the trick for the next few weeks because all we're powering in here is lights. What we have here is a 230 amp hour lithium ion phosphate battery, cold weather protected. I get a surprising number of messages from folks asking me about my battery in the rig because this is one of those Chinese battery companies and people do worry about that, understandably. but there's some great YouTube channels that test all of these different knockoff company batteries, and Lithium always passes the test. It's typically this low temperature protection that fails the test, but Lithium has passed with every review that I've watched, and I have had zero issues with my battery in the rig. So let's get this thing installed and test it out. Budget build hack for you. Instead of purchasing your 2-gauge wire by the foot or by the pack, just buy some knockoff jumper cables. It's going to save you a ton of money, and it's the same wire. That inverter did come with its own wiring, but it's like 16 gauge or something, and it's only a foot long. Wow, should have kept these inside last night. Couple of 4-footers. Let's get this baby installed. Well, there you have it. Bit of a messy install, but it is temporary. And it'll do the trick. But if I'm understanding correctly, my GFCI outlets are still not going to work. They should have power to them, but not going through the plug until I get my proper panel and everything in there and grounded. But my lights are plugged in up here. Let's give it a whirl. There we have it. Lights on the switch. Let's try upstairs. This switch seems like it's in a very odd location. The stairs are going to line up there in the future. There it is. That's awesome. What a freaking success story. And until my proper inverter is here, wiring is officially done. Look at this river. Today is a monumental day in the build. We're going to town to get supplies to start on the interior walls. The old Ford's just been begging for a trip to town. Welcome to the Cabin Chassis Winter Rally, everybody. First out on the stages today is Team Destination Adventure and a 1988 Ford F350 two-wheel drive dually. And let me tell you, getting this truck up to the highway empty is an experience. First and foremost, I'd really like to give a great big thank you to the folks that have reached out and offered a hand with drywall, but we're not actually going the gyprock route in this build because I just don't think it's going to react well to the constant temperature change with myself coming and going. So we're going to do some tongue and groove pine, something I've not even looked into before. But checking online, it looks pretty straightforward. And I am incredibly excited about this part of the build because it's really going to start to look like a home in there. I have not pre-ordered anything for this, so fingers crossed somewhere in town is going to have it in stock.
There you go, young man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Justin.
Wish me luck. That has consumed much less time than I expected. Guy ought to get some lunch while he's in town. Quick bit of macaronchis, help reassess the priorities on an outhouse build. Let's go put up some walls. If you haven't worked with tongue and groove before, let me run you through really just the basics. Each piece has a tongue on one side and a groove on the other, and you're quite literally just clipping them together as you build up or over, depends how you're doing it. We're gonna face nail our bottom row, and then we're gonna nail through the tongue, each row going up, so the nails should never really be exposed. Lucky for me, this kit was on sale in Canadian Tire for $249. Let's get into this bad boy. What a cute little compressor. I'll tell you, this is a quality setup for $250. I'm using 18 gauge 2-inch brad nails. So let's just go ahead and give it a whirl. $1,200 no problem at all. Though that battery is almost dead. I had a feeling it would be. It's been in the box sitting in the cold for a couple months now. Should have read the instructions. And it already has a nail in it. We're doing it. We're really doing it. First piece is fully installed. Pretty darn proud. That's a quality piece down there, let me tell you. There's our bottom row. This seam looks pretty bad. But we're not trying to get perfect seams here. That's not the look we're going for. So I think once we get each layer out with a seam in a different spot, it's gonna look pretty good. But it's not gonna happen just sitting here talking about it. First wall is officially done, and let me tell you, I am pretty proud of this. Even as a total amateur, it looks pretty darn good. Definite slight bit of a learning curve. If you're not super diligent with these brad nails, they do poke out of there. Not a huge deal for me, but if you're building a great big fancy expensive house, definitely something to take into consideration. As well, it helps a lot if you're cutting so that your ends meet up on a stud. There is a fair bit of warpage in some of these boards, and it just helps keep everything nice and straight if you can pull it and secure it on the stud. The Taj Mahal's coming out tomorrow to lend a hand, which should be really nice. See if we can hammer this out in just a few days. But whoever picked up supplies today picked up supplies based on linear foot instead of square foot. So tomorrow, bright and early, we'll be heading to town to get 3 times more paneling. Other than that, should be a pretty good day. Well, for a couple of rookies, things are looking pretty darn good in here. Also nice just to spend the day with the old man, but we've almost skipped a critical step. When we were cleaning and dismantling, we ended up finding an old coin in one of these walls. And I saw in the comments, people said, make sure you put a coin back in the wall before you seal it because it's good luck. So I'm actually going to put 3 coins. Not that I think it's triple the good luck, but I think they all deserve a place in there. First, I'm adding a Canadian loonie, 10 Japanese yen, and I am going to put the old coin back in there, as much as it pains me to do it because it's such a cool keepsake. Certainly this ended up in there from a pack rat, but this is a Roman Empire coin struck sometime between 330 and 346 AD. Pains me to get rid of this, but I think it deserves to be in there. Before we move forwards, I want to talk just a little bit about this product because I didn't shop around it all before going into this, and I made a bit of a mistake. I purchased the complete inventory of this Windsor Select stuff that's in the back. And they're out of stock now for the next week and a half, and it wasn't even enough to finish downstairs. Well, everywhere else in town stocks this Gorman product. It's cheaper and it's better. It's planed on both sides. So you have a different pattern if you want on this side. And it's like 25 cents cheaper per linear foot. Big savings. I'm going to save the rest of my Windsor Select to make sure I can finish up these areas on the walls that I've started. And I hate to switch products halfway through a project, but I don't think you'll really notice it on these walls and then continuing upstairs. So let's just get into it. I have been thinking and thinking about how I'm gonna do this area in here. I literally just put this board up and marked where the floor joists were and then measured up. If it fits and lines up even remotely good, will be a huge success. Oh man, such a classic rookie mistake. Everything fit surprisingly well, with the exception of this. Oh man, measured it backwards. Gotta try not to do that too many times. Oh! Still big gap here. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it. But that's a bummer. Well, in the end, I can kind of salvage this one because I'll just cut these out and use them as my in-between pieces. Okie dokie, how lucky did we get with this one? All in all, not too bad. I can live with it, and I'm gonna cover it with some trim. Just after 7 in the morning, I can tell that the ice is starting to jam just from the level of the river. It's all still moving here, but look how much the river's gone up. Probably 4 feet, maybe a little bit more. Just starting to go behind the island over there. When it jams up, it starts way down. So it's not here yet, but let's get the drone up in the air. Beautiful morning. Well, right away I can see the jam ups built up all the way to maybe a kilometer down from my place here. That's crazy. It's all building up into like a funnel, and it's just pushing into the end of the funnel. Who knows how deep that ice is when it gets jammed up like that. I remember last year I walked down after it broke free, and just the banks were about 12 feet high. I gotta imagine in the middle that's gotta be 20 feet thick of just ice. From sitting here in the rig looking out the window, I can actually see that the river's beginning to slow down. Imagine the force that it takes to slow this mighty river to the point where it's actually rising. That was crazy. I was following this whole shelf in, and the whole thing just stopped. Now this next one's gonna come in and compress all of that. Oh wow! That made so much pressure that it split the jam. There's this big crack in there now. This thing's been building up all night long. It's crazy to think Mother Nature just doing Mother Nature things when the rest of us are sleeping. It seems like it's built up so thick on this outside bend, it's now starting to funnel towards the inside. That is absolutely incredible. As far as we can see, it's backed up. Right at the end of the funnel, where the ice goes into the jam, trying to wrap my head around where that ice is going, it's just mind-boggling. This ice is working pretty hard to make its way up to the cabin here. And it's built up to about there twice. But then it builds up so much pressure, it breaks free and it all compresses into the main jam. But look at how high this river is getting. Unbelievable. That ice might make its way up here yet, but we've got way too much work to do to be standing around waiting on an ice jam. Let me show you how the downstairs walls turned out. Don't look at the walls yet. I have to see what this river looks like from upstairs. Look at that. It's jammed up basically to right here. Wow. Let's take a gander at the final product of these walls. Sorry about this mountain of stuff, kind of just a product of building in a tiny space. But I am really happy with the end result, and I really enjoy doing this. Be fun moving to upstairs as well. The only part that is not finished is this wall because I didn't really know what I was going to do for an outside light. I do have it figured out now, though I'm not 100% happy with it. But I do have an exterior light, and it's done correctly. Now let's get into our weekly cost breakdown. I'm going to include electrical as well as vapor barrier in this breakdown, even though I didn't necessarily share the install. They're both critically important parts to really any build. I'm going to group all of my electrical into one category because there's so many components. And it's a little bit higher than it should be because my first time doing this, I encountered a little bit of waste. But we have approximately 250 feet of wire going through the house, and all of the accessories, $1,063.04. The vapor barrier, I needed 2 rolls of poly, a little bit of spray foam, 3 tubes of acoustical sealant, though one of them exploded and got all over the house. Less than ideal. A little bit of tape and staples for a total of $227.53. I did have to purchase this compressor and tool kit as well as the brad nails, but really reasonable price on that kit. All in all, $297.89 after tax. This tongue and groove pine, the Windsor Select. Unfortunately, I can't recommend that product. Nothing wrong with Windsor. Get a lot of supplies there. Just don't like their tongue and groove. That came to $1,076.54. This Gorman, I got at Rona. $447.89. For a total for tongue and groove, $1,524.43. Bringing our grand total this week to $3,112.89. Let me tell you, the build is at a very exciting stage right now. It's really turning into a house in here, and I am just so thankful to have a wonderful group of people to share it with. As well, I've been seeing people asking about this hoodie, and yes, they are available on the merchandise line. I'll link that down in the description below. If you feel so inclined to support the build, I do thank you. But most of all, thanks for watching, everybody. Why I keep on playing this part.
You got to give the runaround to let them know there's nothing for free. Help me understand why I keep on playing this part.